This year's diehard starting lineups. We'll have a look at them here this evening with Marquette on the road against Duke. The marquee man here is 6'6" senior Trevor Powell down low for the Warriors. Kevin O'Neal, meanwhile, his second year, he took a 15-14 club to the NIT a year ago. Lost at Penn State on the road, but the program on the upswing. Duke, meanwhile, with Christian Laettner, the 6'11" junior, the focus here in the middle. And, of course, Coach K in his 11th year. He's averaged 23 wins a year over 10 years and is a regular visitor to the Final Four.
What an unbelievable job Mike Krzyzewski has done here in Blue Devil land. In the last 5 years, I believe they have the best program in America when you rate them in terms of graduation, recruiting, and success on the hardwood. It's been unbelievable, averaging better than 27 W's a year. Incredible when you think about it.
Big East crew officiating tonight. James Bird, Joseph Mingle, and Peter Pavia. And the Blue Devils have the tip with Thomas Hill in the backcourt. Bobby Hurley is the assist man for the Blue Devils.
Interesting matchup. Keith Stewart playing head-to-head on Bob Hurley.
Rod Gross on the back of Christian Laettner. And Dick, we've got some rule changes for fouls that we'll talk about when we get further into the half, but some late half and late game foul situations will be very interesting this year. There's Davis. That is a three.
Brian Davis gives him some shooting from the perimeter, an outstanding defensive player. A new look for Duke. They're going to be a quicker basketball team, but lack the power of the pass.
Thomas Hill with the steal, and he is fouled.
Cameron Tracy's ready to rock and roll. We take a look at Marquette in their huddle. Duke has changed its look right now because of the fact of the graduation of Abdelnaby, the big fella. Mike Krzyzewski on the sideline. Mr. K's had a busy summer. But you look at Duke right now, and we see Thomas Hill. He'll provide some of that quickness along with Davis and Grant Hill, but they lack size inside other than Mr. Laettner up on the baseline.
They won't lack size when those recruits get here, but that's down the road a bit. Thomas Hill, the defensive specialist of this club a year ago, and he serves notice that he wants to fulfill that role right away this season as well.
He's really improved his shooting. He comes from great stock. His dad won a bronze medal in 1972 in the Olympics. He was a hurdler, now the assistant athletic director out of Oklahoma.
Tom Sr. Stewart.
Man-to-man pressure defense by Duke, their trademark.
That's Stewart for three. He's short with it. Laettner tips it, and Thomas Hill has it. Now Bobby Hurley down deep. There's the freshman, Grant Hill.
Great reverse layup by Mr. Hill. That's one of many. He's going to be a super.
Bobby Hurley fouling in the backcourt.
Bob Hurley, certainly a key player. He's the catalyst, the penetrator. They need more scoring out of Bob Hurley. Here's Hurley right now. There's the penetration. He finds Hill. Hill with the little baseline reverse. Nobody rotates over, changes to the left hand, and his daddy Calvin says, "That's my boy."
Thomas Hill pressuring on the inbounds. Warriors have it. Mark Anglebar on the right side, down deep, and it's Curry looking for Powell inside. He got the shot, but hit it too long. It belongs to Duke. And the Devils up 6-0, only a minute 5 in, are off to the kind of start they wanted with O'Neal's team on the road.
Not the kind of start Marquette wanted. They need a big game out of Trevor Powell. He has to average 18 points a game this season to become the all-time leading scorer in the history of Marquette basketball.
Well, he'll have trouble getting 18 in this game. There's Bobby Hurley. Laettner over the top, looking for an offensive board, but not to be.
Little two-man game between Hurley and Laettner with the screen.
There's some of that quickness of Duke as Hurley taps it away.
They need some scoring out of Bob Hurley. Last year, he was an excellent penetrator. He averaged 7 assists a game, but did not shoot the ball well. Shot about 35%, and he really turned the ball over a little bit too much.
Down deep, Powell receives it, reversing on the baseline, and he traveled.
Little walking. Little dance, little disco move along the baseline. He looked like you. There's a look at Kevin O'Neal, the outstanding recruiter. Worked under Lute Olson at Arizona.
What kind of floor coach will he be? That's the question to be answered in Milwaukee over the next couple seasons.
They want Bob Hurley to finish the play, go score like he tried right there, rather than always drive, penetrate, look in the dish.
They will outlet the ball to Keith Stewart every time down the floor. Here's Anglevar, the lefty, for three, and he gets Marquette on the board.
That's his forte. Catch the basketball, square his body. Anglevar can shoot it. Stewart, for a lot of people out there that follow basketball, he started at Purdue 2 years ago.
Thomas Hill shuffling the feet, and Duke turns it over. And we've got a big guy coming in now. Damon Key, a 6'8", 250 freshman. He'll replace Rod Gross, who sits down.
He's going to get a lot of PT, a lot of playing time. He's probably their best offensive player along the baseline, other than Trevor Powell.
There's Key on the high pivot, back out on top to Stewart. They return it down into Key over Leitner, who may have tipped the ball over the baseline, and Duke has it.
If you look at the negatives when you think about Duke's squad right now, Bob, you have to simply say, what happens if Christian Leitner gets himself into foul trouble, or if he were ever injured, because they really don't have the complementary size along that baseline.
Early in Leitner playing catch with it. Christian can't get it down. Tipped and kept alive by Grant Hill. Left wing, almost an air ball from Thomas Hill, but Leitner has it back.
Thomas doesn't have that good rotation.
Leitner playing with a lot of confidence in preseason, and that is no basket on the charge.
They're going to wave it off. Christian Leitner, as you said, facing the basket in triple threat position, puts the ball to the deck. He's in triple threat position. He drives the seam. Now here comes the defense rotating over, and there's the charge. Excellent call by Pete Pavia, one of the better officials in all of college basketball.
3 minutes and 5 seconds in. Duke led 6-0. The three by Anglevar got Marquette on the board. That's the score. Almost lost by Stewart. Now he throws it away down the left wing.
That was created by the pressure on a basketball by Bob Hurley. Hurley comes out of St. Anthony's, Jersey City. His brother Danny, a left-handed player, just committed to P.J. Carlissimo in Seton Hall.
Yeah, and Bobby says, look out for St. Anthony's. They went to the state final a year ago, and Coach Dad has everybody back.
He's got a great junior by the name of Roderick Rhodes. Some say the best junior maybe in America.
Don't go for the left wing. Missing there was Brian Davis, and here come the Warriors. They've settled the ball game down a little bit, Dick, after their bad start. Here's Damon Key down deep. Curry with an uncontested rebound.
Ron Curry's a transfer. He came out of Arizona. He was recruited initially by Kevin O'Neill. He's from Bloomington, Illinois. He possesses good athletic ability, especially on the offensive boards. There's that screen. They like to run that high screen, Leitner.
Little short he was with the shot. And it looks like they're pointing at Grant Hill for his first.
Marquette had a real horrendous night the other day against the Czechoslovakian team. They fell behind by big numbers, shot very poorly, and it was really, really a sad day, especially at home. It really dampened some of the optimism. It's important tonight in the first 10 minutes that they hang here with Duke, just for a confidence factor.
Yeah, this is a preview of Marquette's great non-conference schedule this year. Skying is Curry over Leitner. Powell scores on the loose ball.
Trevor Powell with a deuce, getting closer to George Thompson's record. George Thompson, a former Super in 1970, played for that wacky guy, Al McGuire, who belongs in the Hall of Fame.
But credit Ron Curry with keeping the play alive. Here's Hurley for three.
They want that out of Hurley, Bob. They want him to think score. They need a little bit more point production to replace the points they lost in Phil Henderson.
Stewart kicks it. Hurley steals it. And we had a foul after the loss by Stewart. It'll be his second. Timeout on the floor. Almost 5 minutes in. Duke off to the quick start. Marquette came back, and it's tight right now. College basketball season underway on ESPN. 4:43 in, and Dick Vitale, a lot of rules to change this year.
Well, one really is the team's 10th foul, the common foul, excluding a player control foul in the half, results in 2 free throws. Player fouled in attempting a three-point results in 3 free throws, only 3 team timeouts in televised games. And on the first ejection, you're suspended for 1 game. Second ejection, you're suspended for the year.
There's Bill McCaffrey just in for Duke, missing. Coach K switching up some. The shooting for Duke has been poor the last 5 or 6 times down the floor.
Billy McCaffrey at the end of the year, 3 for 22. It's important for him to start off the season by having a good day shooting the ball.
Crawford Palmer has drawn the assignment of guarding Damon Key. There they are. Down deep, Powell over Palmer on a nice Nice feed from Damon Key.
Excellent play, high-low series. They post real well, square to body, open up. Good drop step inside by Trevor Powell. Key player for Duke, Crawford Palmer. Can he give him some positive minutes? He's big, he's strong, he's got good athletic ability, but the key is, can he stay out of foul trouble and really produce as we look at Leighton?
Well, that's the man he has to compliment right there, much the same way that Robert Brickey did with Danny Ferry here a couple years ago. Well, I feel it'll be a similar relationship if Palmer does his job.
Well, I think the real relationship you look at is Mr. Ala Abdelnaby and Leitner, if they can get that with Palmer and Leitner.
There's Davis driving and reaching in to knock it away, and fouling was Bruce Hayes.
One of the keys in the Duke offensive schemes are basically driving the seam of the defense, constantly looking for dribble penetration to score or to kick the ball out. You watch Duke, when they catch the basketball, they're always thinking, drive the seam, drive the seam.
McCaffrey and Hurley, the guards. Leitner for three. There's the versatility of the big man.
Sometimes I believe that Christian Leitner wishes that he was 5'11" and wants to play on the perimeter. Look at the pressure on the ball by Hurley.
He only shot the three 12 times last year, but he made 6 of them. Palmer for the rebound right in front of Key, and he just bumps him away.
That's what they need out of Palmer.
Bobby Hurley driving, and McCaffrey after the charge.
Charge on Hurley. Notice how he tried to get into the seam, into the gap, and then looks for the kick out. Watch Hurley right now. Great vision. See, his head's up all the time. Now here it is. Now he's the no-look pass to the left. See, notice how Duke playing all of the foreign teams. Rather than drive for the layup, they flare out to the three-point line, looking for the kick out in the shot. There's Bob Hurley, a little frustrated.
And when he sits down, Grant Hill at 6'7", 222 becomes the point guard.
That's amazing. That shows you the multi-dimensional ability of Grant Hill.
He can play 4 different positions, the 1, 2, 3, or 4 spots. Hill has only not played center during the preseason. Checking in now is Greg Kubek, and sitting down Brian Davis.
Kubek, 3 consecutive years to the Final Four. He and Clay Buckley are sitting on a bench or the co-captains. You know, you mentioned the versatility of Hill. You should see him play the piano as well. This kid's got all kinds of talent.
Okay, he can play 5 positions. Down baseline, Powell has it. Nice touch by the big man, and Trevor Powell has a half dozen.
Having a good game out of Trevor Powell. I talked to George Thompson a little bit earlier tonight. He's doing the game on radio. Former great player at Marquette, the all-time leading scorer. He achieved his record in 3 years. What Powell's going to achieve in 4.
Here's Grant Hill from that left wing. And he came back down with it. No call, and the ball is loose and running. Back up court is Anglevar. And Damon Key drills the 2.
Damon Key's going to be a big-time player. He's got the big wide body, a la Kirby Puckett with that big rear. But he can score inside and has an excellent touch. Good hands for a big player.
At 6'8", 250 for a freshman. McCaffrey knocked away by Anglevar from behind, and the Warriors will get a chance to run a bit.
Marquette's doubling up on Leitner every time he gets the ball inside.
That was Powell backing in, and Crawford Palmer fouled him.
Intensity, Mike Krzyzewski's trademark, a great teacher, a communicator, motivator. If you had to pick one guy right now, if you're an athletic director, that's the man I'd want to head my program. He has the total package, Bob. He has everything you'd want in a head coach.
Great players in a great school. High academic standards here. And Anglevar can't reach it. It's a turnover by the Warriors. Now, in the first couple of minutes, Dick, Kevin O'Neal's guard, Keith Stewart, had 3 turnovers. Since they brought in Bruce Hayes, they've really settled down.
Hayes is a walk-on player. He's a guy that came out as a walk-on.
He's defending there against Grant Hill, outsized. And Kubek misses from the 3-point range right side, but Leitner follows it in.
Leitner's going to have the big-time year this year. He's going to have big numbers on the glass as a rebounder, as a scorer inside, and a tremendous free throw shooter. 84% last year.
McCaffrey steals. He's running, but he's fouled by Bruce Hayes. And now that's 2 fouls on each of Marquette's point guards.
McCaffrey's brother's an outstanding wide receiver for Stanford University. I sat in the stands when the Fighting Irish were beaten by Stanford, and McCaffrey put on a show. And I will say this, I don't know anything about football, but put it down, lock it up. The Rocket deserves the Heisman Trophy. He does it in every big game, Mr. Carpenter.
We'll see about the Orange Bowl, won't we? Here's Grant Hill penetrating. Almost got the shooter's roll. Fighting is Powell for the rebound. And it's a foul on Trevor Powell. Great work by Crawford, or rather by Crawford Palmer on the offensive glass, and he's shaken up.
Palmer really climbing on the glass, really hustling, scrapping and clawing.
11:49 remaining first half. Marquette hanging with Duke, a 14-13 double lead.
On the left, look at Christian Laettner working, giving you the art of offensive rebounding. Offensive rebounding 101. Watch how he gets the great angle. See, he gets Damon Key under the basket, and he has great position with the long arms. It's a long rebound. And there's Christian Laettner with the deuce, educating the Frosh, the diaper dandy, Mr. Damon Key.
Laettner has 5 so far. Trevor Powell with 6 for Marquette. And there's a 3 that misses from the left side from Bill McCaffrey, and he is yet to hit one.
He's 0 for 2.
Hayes shuffling the feet. He was indecisive about his pass as he looked down the right side and saw his man Jay Zuloff down there, who just came in.
Zuloff's another transfer from out of Bowling Green. Jimmy Larinaga has an outstanding team. They should be the class of the Mid-American Conference with a great player by the name of Clinton Venable.
Laettner over Key, who got a piece of it, but Christian got it back. Now he's double teamed. Gets it off, and here comes the freshman.
What quickness to the basket. Great hanging time. He's so athletic. He's acrobatic. Grant Velvet Hill.
He's got 4. Here's Zuloff, right side. Out on top. First attempt from Rob Logderman, who just came in, and that's a 3 for the freshman.
That's his forte. Shoot the perimeter shot. He was an outstanding player in the suburbs of Madison, Wisconsin. Got away from the University of Wisconsin and put on a uniform for the Marquette Warriors.
Dick, you're starting to see that, aren't you? The best players are starting to go to Milwaukee, aren't they?
It looks that way right now. That's the recruiting prowess of Kevin O'Neal.
There's Grant Hill.
Is he tremendous? That's a freshman, my friends. They're going to love him here. He's going to be absolutely sensational. Rated by Bob Gibbons and all the gurus who rate players coming out of high school, one of the premier 5 in America last year. You can see why.
There's Trevor Powell. Duke doesn't mind him out that far. Damon Key slapped away by Laettner. He saved it, and then McCaffrey kicked it over the baseline. A couple of starters back in for Duke now. We'll get another look at Bobby Hurley. He's joined by Brian Davis. Bruce Hayes has taken a seat for Marquette, their starting point guard. Keith Stewart is back.
Stewart's got to give him the great quickness he possesses. He's got to give him solid pressure on a basketball.
Zuloff against Davis, and he walked all over the place.
You watch Zuloff in the warm-ups, absolutely sensational. He's a great jumper. He's got good athletic ability. And there's a look at the professor, Kevin O'Neal, working the sideline.
His team has turned it over 8 times already. Duke 4.
Not surprising against the kind of relentless and tenacious pressure of Duke University.
And we throw that stat your way just as we pass the halfway mark in the first half. Here's Grant Hill again. Finger roll. Got his own. And he walked before he could knock it out of bounds off the leg of Zuloff.
He's so smooth. He's so silky smooth.
Well, that's what the coaches say. They say sometimes the game comes so easy to him, people don't think he's working very hard. Forget that if you're guarding him, though. There's Zuloff. And he's stuffed from behind. Davis got him.
Davis is really being counted on to give him solid defense this year. They want the defensive ability out of Davis. There he is coming from behind, the excellent timing. Remember Billy King, the tremendous defensive player that he was? He had such versatility, could play inside people, outside people. A 3 by Stewart.
And remember, the shot clock this year does not get reset when the ball is blocked out of bounds by the defense. The defense gets a reward for making that play now.
That's a new rule, and that's a good rule.
Unless it's under 5 seconds, then they reset it back to 5. Christian Laettner missing. Hill tried to re-tap it. Nothing there, and Powell a little bit out of control of midcourt, but he keeps the ball somehow. Rebound there by Greg Kubek. 19-18, Marquette leads, but here comes Duke, and a turnover on the baseline.
Duke really sloppy right now, not really getting the kind of execution and the rhythm in their offensive set. Remember this, we're seeing a lot of new players on the floor. The great thing about the preseason Dodge NIT, you get a true evaluation as opposed to going out, blowing out people with what I call cupcake delights and marshmallow delights. So look at the intense Mr. Krzyzewski.
Pete Stewart clears it off for Powell. They double-team Stewart, and Powell was open.
Well, little screen and roll, step back after the screen. One of the toughest plays to defend is the guy that lays the screen, takes one step back, reversing the ball, and you usually have a wide-open J.
Marquette's biggest lead by 3 now with 8:39 remaining first half. Don't forget, Duke got out to a 6-0 lead, had all the momentum, and it was the Mark Anglevar 3 that got Marquette going. Here's Grant Hill underneath.
He's got great ability around the basket. He has an excellent first step, and he's just so acrobatic along that baseline. They got to stop and contain his drive. So I would play off him, let him have to beat me with the perimeter J.
Logderman centers it for Powell. And knocked away. Leitner and Hill were down deep defensively for Duke, and now we'll have some subs. Ron Curry, a starter, back in for Marquette, as well as Anglevar.
Curry couldn't get any PT out in Arizona. What a front court Lute Olson has. Lute Mania going bananas in Tucson, Arizona. He's loaded. Great perimeter players, front court 6'11" horses, and the arrival of Chris Mills from out of Kentucky.
Grant Hill defending hard there against Ron Curry. This is Stewart. Zuloff, baseline left. Leitner stopped it. Ryan Davis running for Duke, and there he goes. Thomas Hill got the rebound. Here's Grant Hill for Hurley.
They want to play off Hurley. They want to double up on Leitner. As soon as the ball goes in, designated trap man is Stewart. There's a charge on Hurley. Good call by the official. Excellent call by the official.
And an early key in the ballgame with 7:33 remaining in the half, and Marquette up by 1. Bobby Hurley has committed his 3rd foul.
Kevin O'Neal is the kind of guy that never leaves a stone unturned. He thinks nothing of going through 20-hour days, day after day after day. And I've said it before, he's the best I've ever seen, and I've seen some good ones during the time I've been coaching.
But Dick Vitale, what is he doing with this schedule? At Kansas, at Michigan, Virginia at home, at NC State, and a home-and-home with Notre Dame.
I'll tell you what, that is a tough way to start. What about my preseason cupcake schedule? You want to know who gets that award? I'll tell you their first 7 games, and you try to figure it out. Bethune-Cookman, Delaware State, Youngstown State, Chicago State, Wright State, American, Tennessee State. What top 10 team in the country plays those 7 to start the season? Tell me, Randy Ayers, that's not true. With Jimmy Jackson and Perry Carter, Ohio State gets my award as the preseason cupcake schedule of the year. I can't believe the 7 they play before they take on the Hoyas of Georgetown down in Vegas.
Well, this guy can't be accused of that. Marquette with an unbelievable non-conference schedule, and of course then they're headed for the great Midwest when they join DePaul, St. Louis U, Cincinnati, Memphis State, and UAB next season in that league.
That's an interesting concept now with that league going to become a reality tomorrow. We talked about it 2 weeks ago on SportsCenter. It will be a reality tomorrow at a press conference. You know what's amazing to me? The chaos and the realignment, some of the things that make no sense geographically. Penn State in the Big Ten. They're fixing the net right now. We have a little delay to give you what we call filler material. But when you think of the chaos involved geographically, Miami in the Big East, and what really blows my mind, Bob, all the presidents, how hypocritical. They talk about class time, they talk about shortening the season, and then they go out. Why? For the greed of the dollar. Get the cash register to go ding-a-ling-ding, and the heck with it all. How do kids in tennis and golf go from State College, Pennsylvania to Bloomington, Indiana, and not miss 3 days of school? You tell me.
Damon Key for Marquette. Right side, it's Jay Zuloff, seeing a lot of playing time lately, but scoring none so far. And here's Stewart, another turnover for the starting point guard. That's his 4th of the game. If he gets anywhere near double-digit turnovers, Kevin O'Neal's team cannot win this game.
They're playing a heck of a lot better than I anticipated. I thought by now, in a 10-minute mark, spurt by Duke. You're looking at an 8-10-point lead. And Marquette's really hanging by getting some good inside play out of Trevor Powell.
McCaffrey and Leitner with a little give and go, and McCaffrey gets the roll.
He needed that. Oh, did he need that for his confidence? 3 for 22 at the end of the season, and now he's 1 for 3.
And even with that 3 for 22, he shot 45% last year, so he was okay until that streak, or that slump, if you will.
Well, he came out of Allentown, Pennsylvania with a reputation, McCaffrey, as an outstanding shooter.
There's Curry over Leitner, a little long, got his own, and there he goes to the glass. Leitner takes it down.
Curry really out-hustled Leitner in that series.
McCaffrey running, Leitner looks at the 3, passes it, and now says, okay. But Curry pulls it down.
Damon Key takes 1 step away, allows Leitner to shoot the perimeter shot.
A 4-on-5 here momentarily. Key had to tie his shoe. They turned it over. Stewart got it back. Curry does not want to take on Christian Leitner. And a bank shot by Damon Key.
A little round-mound rebound. Mr. Gross says, I like him. Hey, is that maybe a mini version of the guy that used to play at Auburn? Mr. Barkley? You're going to like Key. They're going to love him in Milwaukee.
Out of Marquette High School in Milwaukee. And then Davis overshoots the layup. Leitner does it, and he is fouled.
The experience that Christian Leitner received playing in the World Championship games, the Goodwill games, didn't play as well as they would have liked in that summer competition, but it has to help him, that experience. He's really working the offensive boards. Here comes the ball off the glass, and there's Leitner with the long arms, the great hands. He has tremendous hands, good body control.
His #1 assignment for this team, rebound. They know if he does that, everything else will take care of itself.
Well, he became a star when he did it against Georgetown in the regional final, and he went head-to-head with the Frosh sensation, Alonzo Mourning, and he walked out of the arena in the Meadowlands as the star of stars that day.
He has 8 on the three-point play to lead Duke scores. Powell has 8 for Marquette, and Duke has the turnover. Thomas Hill.
Excellent trap. They go to a full-court trap with Leitner at the point. Excellent call by Mike Krzyzewski from the sideline. Little diamond trap.
When Coach K talked to his team yesterday, he said, we can't pressure these guys. And Damon Key has to foul Thomas Hill to stop him.
Remember this, you only have 3 timeouts now in a televised game. He jams that baby. He has to think about a TO, Mr. O'Neal. Get a little nervous now. A little mailbox time. And look, calm, Mr. Krzyzewski. There's Leitner now with the trap. They try to reverse the ball. They smell that. They anticipate really well. There's Hill rotating over. Thomas Hill rotates over, anticipates the reversal of the basketball. This team is made up of youngsters that come from great stock. We talked about his dad being an Olympic hurdler. We talked about Calvin Hill being the football player at the Dallas Cowboys. Bob Hurley's dad is a head coach at St. Anthony's who's good enough to coach on a collegiate level. They really come from great, great stock, these kids that wear a Duke uniform.
Now Duke quickly turns it into a 5-point lead with that pressure defense.
That's the pass you want, the diagonal pass. Throw it over the top of the trap.
Anglevar trying to answer a 10-2 Duke run. Unable to hit the 3, and the Blue Devils have it. And look out now, Marquette. 5:26 remaining before halftime, and the crowd is back into it.
Very dangerous time right now. McCaffrey going to the point, replacing the Bob Hurley is in foul trouble. A little stack, a little double stack along the baseline.
Thomas Hill.
Not a good shot. Not a time to foul. That shot was nowhere going to go in. Off balance. Not a heady play right now by Marquette.
Big battle coming up next in the NIT. Vanderbilt, the postseason NIT champs of a year ago. The Commodores have to go into Fayetteville, and Nolan Richardson is loaded with that ball club.
And not only is he loaded, I had the opportunity to be down here last week, watch them in practice. I'm telling you, they have depth, and Barnhill Mania will be going bananas. They have a Vegas kind of show. Eddie Fogler, what a way to open up this season. I'll tell you one thing, Arkansas is for real. They got Oliver Miller, a big wide body inside. If he doesn't visit Domino's and eats that pizza, he's getting wider and wider. And then they got my guy, Todd Day. He's either going to be all Rolls Royce or he's going to be all Bart Simpson, one of the underachievers. His mental attitude will determine how good he'll be. He has great talent, but he has a tendency to really not play when the lights are not on.
Duke now.
There's the pressure right now.
12-2 run. They lead by 7.
Here comes the trap. They're going to try to reverse it. There's the diagonal. That's the pass you want to utilize to break it.
And they go diagonal to Key as well. He throws up an air ball. McCaffrey has it. And here come the Devils again. It was kicked by Key, but Davis alertly gets it back. A footnote on that Arkansas game. If the brackets hold up the way they're supposed to, Oklahoma and Arkansas in round 2 Friday.
Oklahoma has reloaded. There's the entry down inside. See the great versatility using the left hand. Ambidextrous. Is that how you say that word? I can't handle more than one syllable. Help me out, Carpenter.
You got it.
John Saunders, Bob Lee, they always help me out.
Just call it a left-handed finger roll for 10 points. Here's Davis with a steal. Looked like he wanted to slam, and he changed his mind.
Well, he changed his mind because he really lost his footing, and he didn't have the good angle for the jam.
Trevor Powell double-teamed.
Marquette really struggling offensively now. No rhythm at all.
Shot clock has not been a factor at all in this first half. Maybe they should use a little clock here, but Anglevar is going to go right down baseline left for Powell.
Trevor Powell's got that nice little touch inside. He's been a 4-year player. Big possession because had Davis jammed that thing down, you're looking at a 4-point swing right there.
Yeah, and it would have been an 11-point lead. Here's McCaffrey, and he drills the 3.
Billy McCaffrey with the trifecta, little area code J.
Duke by 10 with 3:35 to go. He sees Powell, tipped away by Kubek. It almost fell into the hoop, but Kubek has the loose ball.
Damon Key's an outstanding inside power player, but he's rotating on the perimeter. He would be more valuable getting his big body along that baseline and down into that 3-second area.
Now with Bobby Hurley on the bench with 3 fouls, Duke with the taller McCaffrey at point guard. They've been better defensively the last couple minutes.
Billy McCaffrey really playing with a lot more confidence now. He knows he's going to get a lot of PT, a little 2-man game. He runs over to Leitner. He says, Christian, thank you for the screen.
Marquette timeout. Under 3 to go in the first half. Duke by 12.
Elsewhere in the Dodge NIT, Memphis State with a big lead on Boston College's 51-37 in the second half. We'll have a highlight of that game coming up at halftime, as well as the escape from Kuwait. The coach had to leave. Let's get back.
All right, John, and back we are to Durham, North Carolina, home of Duke. They're on a 17-4 run in the last 4.5 minutes since Bobby Hurley's 3rd foul, and during that time, his backup, Bill McCaffrey, has 5 of his 7 points. And the Marquette turnovers, number 14 now, with 2:48 to go. Almost another one right there.
You're looking at a bigger margin if Duke was able to really capitalize on taking the turnover and converting it to a score. Duke's a very quick basketball team with some good athletes now, and they're going to utilize that quickness by going with relentless, tenacious pressure defense.
Full court they go. There's the trap in the corner. They get it back to Trevor Powell, the tall man in the middle. McCaffrey got a piece of it for the out-of-bounds tip.
He has to feel like $1 million right now, Billy McCaffrey. He had to be thinking a little bit coming into the season with that 3 for 22 slump at the end of the year.
And then he missed his first couple of night, Dick.
But he kept shooting. That's a sign of somebody that has some confidence.
He got the steal.
Give it back.
Hill back in there, and he is fouled by Zulov.
Talk about outstanding freshmen. Grant Hill's certainly showing right out of the gate that he's for real as you look at Billy McCaffrey. You're going to see some great play also on a Sean Bradley down at Brigham Young University, a 7'6" player. Certainly you're going to love another guy in the ACC, Rodney Rogers, a tremendous talent. He'll be playing for Wake Forest. And you ready for this one? Jamal Mashburn, the monster masher from out of Kentucky. Ricky Pitino's got himself a dazzler in Mr. Mashburn.
They call them Patino's Bombinos down there now, the way they're hitting from outside in the preseason.
They're also saying down there, Bravo Patino, a nice Italian restaurant he opened down in Kentucky. He's got anything he wants, car washes. Oh, fuck!
Grant Hill gets the second of his two, the freshman with 9 points tonight, and Duke leads by 13. 2.5 left before the halftime. And the first basket of the night by Jay Zuloff.
Zuloff with that good athletic ability. Good move right there. Attack the pressure and try to score against it rather than play very timid and try to bring the ball back. Leitner really knows how to sit into the post. He really has worked hard at posting inside.
Tony Lang down there, the left wing for Duke. Leitner with the turnover. And back in for Marquette as Leitner bemoans that move is Ron Curry.
Tony Lang's an interesting player. Great athletic ability. Came out of Mobile, Alabama. Highly recruited last year. Almost went to LSU. Georgetown was in the hunt as well. Also was class valedictorian in this class.
Kind of an unnecessary foul almost at the half-court line by Grant Hill, his second. Clock is under 2 minutes to go. It reads 1:56.
1986, 1985-86 season when Duke went to the Final Four, also down in Dallas, Texas. They played in the preseason NIT, and that one, they beat Kansas in the final. Louisville, who won the NCAA championship, also was in the Final Four in New York City that year. 3 of the 4 teams.
And that trophy, by the way, is on display right now in the Duke locker room here. Coach K told his guys yesterday, this is serious stuff, and it meant a lot to him to win it the first time around, trying to do it again.
Well, it's a great confidence builder. If you can get over to the Big Apple in New York City, certainly certain teams get the opportunity a little better than most with the chance to play in their home environment.
Duke by 9 with the ball, 1:45 to go. McCaffrey for Lang.
Antonio Lang, just call me Tony Lang, is going to be a good one here in a Duke uniform. 6'8", quick as a cat.
LaFleur High School, Mobile, Alabama. Remember that name. Ogderman now off the bench with 7.
Ogderman's got good scoring ability. He can shoot the long-range jumper. He can get the ball to the floor, and he can play either one of the 2 guard positions, the 1 or the 2.
Leitner forcing his way in and drawing the foul. Looks like number 2 on Trevor Powell.
Christian Leitner has the great knack of getting fouled. He knows how to take the ball, penetrate, drive the seams of the defense. Watch him right now. He'll spot a seam in the defense. There he is, right into the seam. There's the gap. Duke is really tremendous at that. They drill on that constantly. Wherever they see a seam in a defense, they attack it with dribble penetration.
This is a 2-shot foul, team foul number 10 on Marquette. The new rule kicks in with these free throws.
He led the ACC also. I'm not convinced, but we certainly have to give it time. But I'm not convinced this is going to solve the original concept, which is to shorten the game with the 2-shot situation. I still think that teams will foul late in the game and trade off the 2 for the possibility of getting a 3. I don't know what the solution is to solve that problem at the end of the game, but I'm not convinced that this will shorten the basketball game.
Most coaches have told us they think it'll lengthen the game, if anything. Down deep, Key, who just came in. And from behind, Tony Lang got in.
Tony Lang getting some real QT quality time, and he's producing. He wants to make the great impression immediately. Here's the athletic ability of Lang now, coming from behind. When we talk about athletic ability, we talk about quickness. We talk about jumping ability. We talk about lateral quickness. Billy McCaffrey, a little spin, a little reverse, little J, tickle the twine, NBA, nothing but nylon.
Duke by 13, 50 seconds to go. And it looks like a Duke foul in the paint away from the ball.
Kevin O'Neal has to say to himself, it'll get better, baby, because believe me, this is a real stern test to come into Cameron, where they have not lost, as you said earlier, since 1983 at home in a pre-conference scheduled game, a non-conference scheduled game.
Well, the student body helps out with that miss. 45 seconds to go. Duke by 13 with the ball.
Just a great environment for college basketball. The students right on the floor, as opposed to all the money people in many arenas who get the choice seats, and the kids are sent to the sideline. Duke opening up the court, looking for a backdoor cut. See, they're coming up foul line extended, trying to clear for a backdoor cut.
There's a 3-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. That is the game clock you're watching. Shot clock is at 14 right now.
Leitner gives him that tremendous multi-dimensional player. Inside, outside, knows how to lay the screen. That was
McCaffrey's three misses. Curry on the rebound, and he was fouled with Brian Davis on his back. 5 seconds to go.
Not a good play by Brian Davis, fouling in that situation with 5 seconds to go. Also right there, to me, was an illegal screen by Mr. Leitner. He was moving at the time of laying that screen for his buddy McCaffrey. And that is supposed to be this year one of the points of emphasis by the officials, screening, because so many teams really get an advantage if they lay illegal screens, especially in the 3-second area.
9 team fouls on Duke, so it's a 1-and-1. But Curry has his first free throw of the night, 3 points total.
To re-emphasize, on the 10th foul of the half, if it's a common foul, doesn't include player control fouls, it will be a 2-shot situation.
Leitner at the buzzer, got the front of the rim. And Duke starting fast, then it was all Marquette. But Duke came back strong to lead by 12, 44-32 at the half. John Saunders with our halftime show in a moment. Right now from Duke, it's the Blue Devils by 12 at the half.
Welcome back once again to the Dodge NIT on ESPN's NCAA basketball. Marquette is down to Duke. That in the first half. We'll get to the second half in a moment. But still, some other games underway at the Silvio Conte Forum on the campus of Boston College. The Eagles starting 3 freshmen in this game, hosting the Tigers of Memphis State, returning 11 players from last year's squad. But BC comes out flying. Corey Jackson for the jam. Howard Isley with the feed. Jim O'Brien likes it early, but Memphis State would settle down. Tony Madlock picks Isley's pocket, drives in for the hoop off the glass, 17-14. Boston College still up, but later, Russell Young, who had a terrific first half, drives the lane, shoots, gets fouled as well, 31-25 at that point. Memphis State's lead is now at 56-49. Russell Young, 14 points. All of those were scored in the first half. Elliot Perry has 11 points for the Tigers. Now, if Memphis State goes on to win this game against Boston College, they would face the winner of the game you're watching now, and Duke has the lead at halftime over Marquette. The Blue Devils ranked number 6 in the nation. Now, coming up next, we will take a look at a coach's escape from Kuwait. Quite a story, as you know. It gets worse and worse every day over in the Middle East, and it was tough for that coach as well, but he did manage to get out of Kuwait. But first, here's a look at the preseason top 25. The team that won the championship from a year ago. Will they get a chance to defend that championship? We'll find out later on this month. UNLV, number 1. Arkansas, you'll see them later on ESPN. Ranked number 2. Arizona is at number 3. Stay with us. We'll be back. The Hoyas, ranked number 9. Back to the Dodge NIT, updating the score from the Conte Forum at Boston College. The Eagles down in this one, but it's only down by 3 now. Memphis State had built up a big lead. It's now 63-60 in the second half. We will keep you updated. As you know, Duke has the lead over Marquette at halftime. And Duke beat Connecticut to reach the Final Four last year. Christian Laettner sinking the jumper at the buzzer to win the game. Connecticut has been involved in a number of buzzer beaters, including the one against Clemson that put them into that game against Duke. Let's go back to the Meadowlands from last year. Tate George takes the pass from Scott Burrell.
Burrell takes the ball, Looking inbound, loops it far up court for George, who catches it, turns around, shoots, and he got it! He hit it! He hit the shot! And the Huskies have won it! The Huskies have won it!
Last night, the Huskies were at it again against the Soviet national team. Down by 1 point, 3 seconds left. This time, Burrell to Murray Williams. The Huskies pull it off again in dramatic fashion, 82-81. They win at the buzzer against the Soviet national team, but it doesn't really count. Now, a reminder, we still have a second game coming your way following the first at 9:30 Eastern Time. Vanderbilt, the defending champion in the postseason NIT, will take on the #2 team in the nation, the Razorbacks of Arkansas at 9:30. Arkansas coming off their visit to the Final Four. Next, the second half, Duke and Marquette. Keep it right here. We've just begun on ESPN's NCAA basketball. It's 44-32. ESPN's presentation of NCAA basketball, Marquette versus Duke, is brought to you by Dodge. For performance, quality, safety, and value, welcome home, America. And by Bud Light. Everything else is just alike.
Welcome back for the second half coming up in a few moments here at Cameron Indoor Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. Duke by 12 over Marquette, 44-32 after 20 minutes of play. Bob Carpenter back with Dick Vitale. You know, Dick, some of the Marquette folks last night were saying we'd be happy to keep this thing within 10 or 15 points. They did better than that for a while, but when Duke turned on the defensive pressure, it got tough for the visiting team.
Defensive pressure really was the difference in the first half. Duke went to the matchup zone pressure defensively. We take a look at it right here. The first phase of this defensive pressure is to pressure the basketball. Kubek is along the baseline and he's pressuring the ball. The second phase of the pressure defense, after he rotates, now they get into a trapping area, trap the basketball. They trap the ball. The third phase of the pressure defense is to rotate to the ball. Notice Hill now rotating to the ball and anticipating the ball to be reversed. He makes the steal. He finalizes. That's Clinic 101, how to execute the matchup zone pressure defense. And that was the difference in the first half.
Marquette actually shot better from the field than Duke did, despite the Blue Devils' early surge. Free throws not a big factor so far. Rebounding has been, and turnovers. There are 10 turnovers from the two Marquette point guards right now.
The turnovers were really big, especially in that one series late in the first half when Duke was able to break the game open.
This is Anglevar on the right side for Marquette as Duke opens up in its customary man-to-man, and there's a quick steal. Grant Hill got it away for the Blue Devils. Down deep, Davis traveled before he went up for the shot. We'll see what Coach K has in store second half style. Defensively for this Marquette team, Bobby Hurley, by the way, is back in to start the second half. Playing with 3 fouls. Bill McCaffrey played so well with him out of the game. There's Key on a nice baseline feed by Powell. And then to get the rebound, they say Grant Hill had to commit a foul.
I think they got to get the ball inside more than Damon Key. I think Key can be so effective on the interior. We always talk about the first 4 minutes of the second half being crucial, and right here it is vital. If Duke can get a spurt of any kind, 8-1, 10-2, it's blowout city. It's important for Marquette to reverse that and to get a spurt, to get back in the game, and to get under the double-figure digit mark.
There's a turnover by Anglevar. He received a relatively easy pass from Keith Stewart and simply shuffled the feet. Quickly, Greg Kubek is in, and taking a seat with 3 fouls now is the freshman Grant Hill.
Kubek 3 consecutive trips to the Final Four. That's a tremendous achievement. I know a lot of people talk about, well, they can't win the big game. I think that's ludicrous. Today in college basketball with the parity, if you get to the Final Four, it's an achievement. They've done it 4 out of 5 years. The last year they ran into one of the greatest performances ever, UNLV in a final game.
Ryan Davis a little short. Duke will keep possession. Christian Laettner working hard off the offensive iron. Laettner averaging 10 boards a game last year. They increased that by a couple a game this time around. He's got to do that job. And meanwhile, Brian Davis reaching over a guard for his second foul.
I think there are two factors that stand out early in watching Duke play here for me, Bob. Number one, will they have enough rebounding power with the size they have? And number two, will they consistently hit the perimeter shot? I don't know if they're a good perimeter shooting basketball team. I think that's a big question mark.
North Carolina picked by the ACC media to win this league. Duke second, just ahead of Virginia and Georgia Tech.
Well, North Carolina should be maybe 1 and 2. Pick number 1, A team, number 2, their B team. Dean Smith will say, wait a minute, our freshmen, they're not really ready yet. Give me a break. Those kids are absolutely super. They just need some playing time and some experience.
Hurley inside to Leitner, and he draws the foul. Looks like they're pointing at Damon Key. That would be his second.
Kevin O'Neill trying to bring some excitement back into the Marquette campus. He replaced Bob Duquette, who really had an era of turmoil there and is now at Gannon. And Kevin really has got everybody excited. And I'll never forget the man himself, Mr. Al McGuire, back in the 70s. He was something else, just unbelievable. 1977, winning that national championship, 67-59 over the Tar Heels of North Carolina. He cried as he left the bench, and from that moment on, it was box office bonanza time, cash register time, as his cash register's been going ding-a-ling-ding as he's filled up his bank account like you can't believe. Mr. McGuire off that national championship team.
Leitner with 15, another turnover by a Marquette guard. Pete Stewart, who committed the foul a moment ago, by the way. That was his third, so O'Neill's point guard's now in foul and turnover trouble.
That's the pressure defense we analyzed at halftime, that full court matchup zone pressure, really creating a nightmare here for Marquette.
Bobby Hurley for 3, and Damon Key pulls it down for the Warriors, who trail by a dozen, and we've just now passed 18 minutes remaining in the game. Curry. Leitner pulls it down. Christian Leitner with 9 in the game.
Oh, they bumped on Leitner, trying to slide through in their secondary phase of their break. Duke likes to slide Leitner from the high post down into the low post. You know, talking about North Carolina, you mentioned them earlier. I think what makes them so special right now, kids like Montross and Cliff Rozier and Phelps and Sullivan and Reese, they don't have to feel the burden because of the great experience they have around them with King Rice and Hubert Davis and a whole gang of guys like Chocut and Fox. And they just have that great blend of experience and youth that can play.
Set play on the inbounds pass, but Duke committed a turnover. See if the Warriors can get it back to 10 here, maybe even 9 if they get the 3. Anglevar was the man they looked to in the first half to get their offense started. And he draws a foul by Thomas Hill. Anglevar turned and headed for the hoop for a possible over-the-top feed, and he drew the foul.
Duke does a good job of locking up on the perimeter defensively to try and negate the 3, because the three-point shot has become so important to the offense of many, many teams in college basketball.
Bobby Hurley watching Keith Stewart.
See, notice how Duke comes out and puts pressure on the perimeter. They don't allow you to square up and shoot that 3. As soon as you pick up your dribble, they'll get all over you. The count begins.
Ooh, that was down to about 4.5 seconds, almost a 5-second violation. Leitner defending. He gets the rebound, but he travels on 1 foot as he keeps it in bounds.
Christian Leitner from out of Angola, New York. Played at a private school, Nichols School out of Buffalo. Had all kinds of records there. Said no, Jimmy Boeheim. Mr. Boeheim wanted him in the Syracuse uniform at the Carrier Dome. Get ready for Adrian Autry. He'll be unreal this year. Be one of the great impact young players. He'll get a lot of playing time out there in that Syracuse lineup.
And the ACC Big East Challenge coming up in 2 weeks on ESPN. That'll be something.
That's always exciting because it really eliminates that cupcake matchup. Here's the pressure on the basketball. Duke trying to pressure on the ball. Good backdoor cut.
Anglevar to Powell for 2.
Trevor Powell set him up perfectly. Anglevar with the bounce pass. Clinic 201 on how to execute the backdoor cut. Catch the defensive player staring at the basketball.
Marquette has it back to 10.
Duke really utilizes that screen up on the baseline. Not a good entry right there by Kubek. But Leitner draws the foul.
That's a pretty bad foul because that looked like an uncatchable pass. It looked like it was headed out of bounds over Christian Leitner.
The only guy that could catch that pass was Jerry Rice, baby. Only with his hands.
His third personal foul.
Montana to Rice. Unbelievable. Theismann to Patrick. They were super in that first game. I loved it.
It's a debut week on ESPN. NFL action last Sunday. College hoops tonight. And more coming your way. Vanderbilt and Arkansas next in our NIT doubleheader this evening.
Mayday will be doing their thing. Todd Day and Lee Mayberry. Oh, there's the good entry down to Leitner. Leitner really with those great hands. I love his hands. So many players have good moves, Bob, and can flash to the ball, but they can't catch the ball. You catch a ball not only with your hands, you catch a ball with your eyes as well.
Leitner has 16 now.
Look at that pressure on a basketball on a perimeter. They pressure so hard on the wings and on the perimeter, they are susceptible to the backdoor cut.
Foul on the floor with 15:49 to go. Duke by 12. Seems like they lead by that every time.
Back to Duke and Marquette in just a moment, but first let's update Memphis State and Boston College. The Eagles started this game, took a lead, but Memphis State came back with a 16-point lead at halftime. But the Eagles fought back and fought all the way back. They now lead the game by 1 point. It's 71-70. Russell Young did have 14 points for Memphis State in the first half, but it's not enough. Let's go to the Conte Forum now. We're in a 1-point game with just over 3 minutes left.
Boston College on top of Memphis State, 71-70. This is their point guard, Isley, and Doug Abel, who's come off the bench and played well tonight. Billy Curley, it's poked away, and Anthony Douglas comes up with the ball for Memphis State. Ahead to Billy Smith, and he got it!
Fortunate break for Memphis State. That time BC had a good backdoor opportunity. The defensive man was able to knock it through, and the Tigers got a transition bucket and regained the lead.
In case you've just joined us, Memphis State was up by 16 at half. They lost the lead, and now they've regained it by 1 with 2:40 left in the contest. Inside, Abel got it over Douglas.
Tigers man-to-man opened it up, and BC got a good high percentage shot inside.
Clock is ticking down, and Allen kicks it back outside to Ernest Smith.
Look for Elliott Perry to get back in the game before too much longer. 2 minutes to go, 2+ minutes to go. This is when Elliott Perry needs to be on the floor.
Douglas traveled with the basketball. He can't believe it. But he dragged the pivot foot, and Boston College will have the ball with 2:10 to go and a 1-point lead. Elliott Perry, that's anxious to get back in, you can be sure.
That's not a position you see him in too often. Tigers again staying in half-court man-to-man pressure. They've got to do a better job of denying that entry pass to BC inside.
Corey Jackson, great pass inside. Billy Curley, and he drew the foul. It's on Calvin Allen, and Allen has 5. Elliott Perry will get back in, so Memphis State loses one of their starters underneath. He leaves with 8 points. Calvin Allen, the sophomore from Bolivar.
Backdoor cut against the man-to-man. You can go backdoor. Nice recognition by Jackson. Immediately over to Curley. Gets the head fake. Actually could have picked a couple of Tiger players to call the foul on. But nice recognition by BC. Did a nice job of going backdoor and then finding Curley wide open underneath the hoop.
Good look at Anthony Douglas. The sophomore was a red Proposition 48 player, making his first appearance tonight. There's Ben Spiba, who comes back into the game. Now Calvin Allen stays in, so the foul must not have been on him. We'll get it corrected in a second. In the meantime, Curley hits. 74-72 BC. Billy Curley, a great second half. 11 points. Now 12, 16 in the game.
Big trip down court for Memphis State. Need a good high percentage shot.
Billy Smith and now Calvin Allen.
Now remember, Perry's been sitting down for a couple of minutes, so he's really not back into the flow. Let him get out there and get a sweat going again before he puts the shot up, because he's been sitting down. But he's the man Memphis State certainly wants to have it.
Spiva wanted to pick. Billy Smith gets the ball, and he takes the long-range shot. It won't go. Huckabee's got it for Boston College. 1:22 to go. Here's Abel. He drives and he put it in.
Dave, if you're Memphis State defensively, nobody got in Abel's way. He was set up perfectly for somebody to draw the charge, but nobody stood in his way.
Spiva for three. It won't go. Abel with the rebound, and Boston College looks in control with 1:04 to go, and they lead by 5, 77-72. And Larry Finch wants...
We'll get back to the Conte Forum and update you on the final of that Boston College-Memphis State game in just a moment. But first, we're going to get back to Duke and Marquette in just a moment on the Dodge NIT here on ESPN's NCAA Basketball. Boston College and Memphis State in a very tight game that Memphis State had led by 16 points at halftime. We will keep you updated, but first we want to go back to our game at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Duke facing Marquette. Let's return to Bob Carpenter and Dick Vitale.
For Duke, they have their biggest lead, 57-40, 13 and a half to go, and Curry answers with a three for Marquette.
Ron Curry's got to give him some scoring. He's really been negated. He's got great athletic ability. Hey, Billy the Kid is having one heck of a game here. Billy the Kid McCaffrey.
Christian Laettner as well, 20 points, 11 rebounds. He's been hot since we were away. And here's Hurley penetrating all the way, but it won't go, and Powell pulls it down.
That's what they want out of Hurley. Usually he penetrates with one thing in mind, look to dish the rock. But right there, they want him to finalize, try to score.
Marquette getting nothing from their guards right now. Curry is the man taking charge, and he's now scored their last 7 points.
Good offensive rebound by Ron Curry. Couldn't get any PT playing time out of Arizona with Stokes and Brian Williams and Chris Mills and Sean Rooks. But here at Marquette, he is option number 2 on that baseline to Trevor Powell.
Laettner travels.
Christian likes playing out in the perimeter. He really wants to play out there. Well, remember Danny Ferry. Think about this. I was just thinking, Duke has had the player of the year in college basketball, 2 of them in the last 5 years, and Danny Ferry and Johnny Dawkins. And we wish Johnny Dawkins a speedy recovery from his knee surgery.
Laettner sits down. A small Duke team out there right now. Brian Davis at 6'6" came in to replace him.
They got a very quick team. Not a big team, but a quick team.
Let's see if the big man for Marquette, Powell, and Key down deep. The tandem there can take control. Curry misses, got his own, and lays it in.
Good offensive rebound. We talked about it in a previous possession. Ron Curry, good athletic ability. Nobody blocks out. One of the cardinal sins in college basketball. As soon as a man shoots the rock, you have to square your body and find him.
7-0 run for Marquette. They were down by 17 just a moment ago. Grant Hill open. Nothing there, and Curry pulls it down. He's everything for Marquette. And the Marquette bench is angry. The officials stopped the play because of perspiration on the floor, and they had a break going on.
I don't buy
Not a fast break, but a secondary break at least.
I don't buy that in that situation because the sweat and the perspiration is away from the action. Those kids could have cleaned that up, and you negate a chance to have an opportunity to have the advantage. Not a real good move right there by the guys in the striped shirts.
Well, if you're Kevin O'Neill, you like to have Coach K's defense on the run and not give them a chance to set up that old 21. Their half-court man-to-man.
I like the way you call it out. 21, 31, you go to those sessions. 21 really basically means they pick up from half court. The second number indicates man-to-man. The first number indicates where you picked up on the defensive end. If it was 31, three-quarter court, 41, full court.
Anglevar. And the rebound, McCaffrey. Outlets to Hurley. Left side, Grant Hill, and he traveled.
Great athletic move right there, exploded to the goal, but he lifted his pivot foot. Notice today,
He hung on the rim, and that's a tee.
They're calling that more this year. You can only hang on the rim. Let me clarify this. You can only hang on the rim if you are in the process of trying to protect yourself from an injury or injuring another player. You cannot grasp the ring. That's an automatic technical. Here's the rule. A player may grasp or hang on the rim only if fouled or to avoid an obvious injury to himself or another player.
By 10, Duke leads, but Marquette on the comeback trail.
Elsewhere in the Dodge NIT, Boston College leading 81-75 in the second half. Freshman Bill Curley with 16 points in this game, so quite a debut. Right now, let's go back to Bob Carpenter and Dick Vitale.
Thanks, John. And the winner of that game plays the winner of this one. Lagerman missing the first of the two technicals after Grant Hill hung on the rim.
Notice tonight the officials calling a lot of walk-in violations. They're really trying to emphasize that, where players are getting the advantage offensively by lifting their pivot foot prior to putting the ball out of their hand to the floor.
Now possession for Marquette. Down by 9. They're on an 8-0 run against Duke, and they could have get good down to 7, maybe 6 here with plenty of time left in the game.
Well, Duke has been unable to put the Holyfield on him out of the Douglas match, where Douglas went to the canvas and it was good night city. They haven't been able to knock out Marquette.
Damon Key, Anglevar, nothing there. He was stopped well by Grant Hill.
They have to get a little bit more ball movement, too stationary. Duke tries to stop the ball reversal.
Trevor Powell loves to be down deep. Air ball. Zulov has it, and his turnaround goes.
He has such good talent and athletic ability. He has to learn how to play the game, how to play within a 5-man system.
A 7-point game with 10:45 to go.
Duke's got to get the big boy, and they need Leitner on that floor.
Hurley for McCaffrey. Again, remember, we said it a few minutes ago, it's a small Duke team out there, and driving, McCaffrey draws the foul.
That's another example of the Duke offensive scheme. Drive the gap, drive the seam. Take a look as we look at Mike Krzyzewski there. Now watch McCaffrey. Watch him drive the gap. See the gap in the defense? Now he splits the gap, takes it to the seam, draws the contact, always looking to get fouled or to dish to an open man. I don't know why 4 teams do not take advantage of that. Have their players drive the seam.
McCaffrey hit 79% a year ago. Let's get an NIT update. Back to our studio. Here's John Saunders.
We told you Boston College fought back from a 16-point deficit at halftime. They are trying to hang on and win with under 5 seconds left in the lead.
Huckabee, and he really got fouled. Huckabee got creamed. And so did Billy Smith, who went to get him. There's 1.7 seconds left on the clock. And take a look.
The Tigers really needed a foul in the backcourt. They waited too late. You see Smith goes crashing over Huckabee. But BC was able to burn off 5 or 6 seconds by getting the outlet pass.
Yeah, I was going to say give credit to BC for avoiding a foul in front of the Memphis State bench. John McLaughlin comes into the game, replacing Billy Smith, who might have been banged up. McLaughlin, a 3-point shooter. To the line, Huckabee, and he can seal it here. He'll get 2. And he misses the first, and Memphis State still has a chance. If he hits this, it's, for all practical purposes, over.
If he misses it, Tigers have got to get the ball immediately and throw it down court.
He got it. It looks like BC will win. Madlock dribbles it off his leg, and there's a final. Memphis State had a 16-point lead at the half, and Boston College never quit. Jim O'Brien congratulates the Memphis State staff and Larry Finch. The Eagles a winner, 82-78 over Memphis State.
Boston College advances with a victory over Memphis State. They await the winner of Duke and Marquette. Let's return the camera to Bob Carpenter and Dick Vitale.
All right, John, and the site of that game will be announced shortly after the completion of this one here in Durham. Another miss by Duke, Trevor Powell. The momentum is going Marquette's way right now. They've got it back to a 7-point game.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. They're starting to reverse the ball a little against the Duke defense. And if you could swing the ball side to side, and plus they're beating, there's another walk-in traveling violation. They're beating Duke on the glass for second attempts. And if you can beat a team consistently on the offensive boards, I say that's going to be a real dilemma for Duke all year. Rebounding.
There's the scoring by half, but keep in mind the number 22. That's how many turnovers Marquette has tonight, and they're still very much in the game.
So you notice how Hurley wanted to drive the gap, drive the seam.
Thomas Hill's 3 misses. Leitner scrambles with Curry. The possession belongs to Duke.
I think a lot of teams are going to play off the Duke perimeter people and say, especially on Hurley's case, if you're going to beat us, Bob Hurley, you must beat us with the long-range jumper. We're not going to allow you to drive the seam and utilize your great driving talents.
And do we know anything yet about Grant Hill's ability to hit outside? We know what a great inside player he is. There's a nice little roll from McCaffrey, and he has 15 tonight.
Solid goal off the bench tonight. Billy McCaffrey squared his body really well. Looks like he's ready to have himself an outstanding second year.
Duke by 9. Damon Key over Leitner. Strong move by the freshman and a foul.
I don't know why that big horse hasn't been inside more. I really like him when he gets down deep inside. He really has got the great touch around the basket.
This will be an offensive foul, by the way, on Trevor Powell.
Look at him right here. And Trevor Powell on a weak side pushing off, but it's after the score. James Burr right on that call. One of the better officials blowing a whistle in college basketball.
8:35 to go. Duke with the ball and a 7-point lead. The winner of this game plays Boston College.
Notice how they're not going to pressure Hurley. Because he's always thinking drive, drive, drive. And there he is with a little jumper. He says, you play off me, I can shoot that 12-footer. He's going to have to do more of that. They want him to think score.
Only 5 points on the night. He averaged 9 a year ago. They need about 13 or 14 a game from him. And there's Curry in from the left side.
Backdoor cut available against Duke. Duke likes to put a lot of pressure. Sometimes you can catch them staring at the ball.
Under 8 minutes to go. Duke by 7.
Marquette's going to be tough in that Midwestern Collegiate Conference, which really has been dominated by Xavier over the last 5 years. Conference made a great show last year. 4 teams in the postseason. Dayton, Xavier, and then in the NIT, St. Louis went to the finals 2 years in a row under Rich Brower. Has done a solid job in Billiken basketball.
Key long with it. Thomas Hill straight ahead for Hurley.
Oh, he'll make
3 on 2.
He'll make the play.
Leitner and a blocking foul.
Leitner always ends up on that free throw line.
And Mark Anglevar feels the effect of that one, his third.
2 problems facing Mike Krzyzewski in their run. And they're thinking, as you pick up the paper today and read the article by John Bannon, the basketball guru of USA Today, talking in their headline story about Duke. Duke is using this as a barometer, thinking about the Final Four and thinking about the NCAA. I'll tell you one thing, they think only one thing here, positive, NCAA tournament time.
Leitner, number 1 in the ACC a year ago from the free throw line. His 21st point of the night. He had 269 attempts last year. Obviously, he draws some fouls.
He gets angry when people talk about him being a finesse player. He says, how can they call me a finesse player? Don't they know I average 10 rebounds a game? I'm tough as can be. Christian Leitner has a lot of finesse about his game. He's not what you would call a power player. He's a multi-dimensional, outstanding player. What a great defensive player.
Thomas Hill with him. And a foul as Logderman has to reach in. Bobby Hurley creates it for Duke.
Bobby Hurley with that pressure on the basketball. As Kevin, his forehead getting a little deeper. And as his career, see, he tries to reverse, and Hurley anticipates that really well. His daddy jumps up out of his seat. He says, look at my guy take it to the goal. I'll tell you one thing, St. Anthony's going to be well represented at Seton Hall with Terry DeHere, the outstanding second-year player. Jerry Walker will be there, and now they get a commitment out of Danny Hurley, and I know they're hoping for Roderick Rhodes. You should see this road runner. R&R, the Express, baby, along with Jason Kidd from out of California. People say they're the 2 best juniors in the United States.
Bobby Hurley, 7 points, 3 assists.
Oh, there's that trap. There's that trap. You got to catch the post-up man.
Logderman calls timeout, trapped under his own basket.
What he's doing when he catches the ball, he's putting his back to his people. He can't see the people.
Duke by 11, 7:15 to go. College football Saturday on ESPN gets started. Chris Fowler previews the Irish and the Lions. Georgia is featured Saturday at 11:30 Eastern time. Then to the Big Ten, the Gophers and the Wolverines at 12:30 Eastern. Penn State visits South Bend, #1 Notre Dame. And then it's Georgia and Auburn, SEC style, Saturday night, 7:30. A full menu of CFA football on ESPN. A basketball doubleheader tonight. It's Duke and Marquette here in Durham. 7:10 to go. Duke by 11. And later, Vanderbilt at Arkansas. A steal. McCaffrey and Hurley scoring.
Trapping defense. They went through a 3-quarter trap and sprung the ball loose and got the easy layup. That's been the story. He's got the trailer.
Away from
He's got the trailer. He's got the trailer. Oh, I thought he He's going to rock the house down with a little Jam City, Mr. Leitner. But I wanted a foul. Leitner says, no, I'll make it tougher now. I'll get the ball down deep. Look at him trying to post. He looks at the officials and says, don't you know I'm a star? I'm supposed to get that call. I'm at home.
Especially against a freshman. He's taking on Damon Key.
Duke in a little box offense. Comes off the box.
And the follow by Thomas Hill.
Thomas Hill, good jumper on the inside. Good athletic ability.
Marquette now has to prove they're not through. They're out of timeouts. And they're down by 15. 5 seconds as Hurley guards Lockerman.
It is over, Mr. Carpenter. Put it down in the book. It is academic. It is over. Second round, it will be the Eagles and the Duke Blue Devils. Look right here, points off the turnover, and that has been the difference. Points off the turnovers.
28 points off 26 turnovers. 6:05 to go. Will the game be here? Will it be in Boston? Or will Marquette make a tremendous comeback here? It'll have to be a miracle on the road for the Warriors.
Good entry down inside. Duke really plays well at the end of the game. Hey, Vanderbilt and Arkansas, #2 in the nation. Eddie Fogler, NIT champs, takes on Barnhill. Will be rocking and rolling. Todd Day, Lee Mayberry, Oliver Miller, and the improved Ron Urey. And they got the truck, Arlen Bowers. He makes sure. I was down there last Tuesday. He says, you better watch my defensive ability.
Grant Hill into double figures with 10. Kevin O'Neal starting to sense the big hole his team is in now.
I'll tell you one thing, he's got a nice group of players, and they're going to be tough in their conference. After the pre-conference schedule they play against those people, like you mentioned earlier, playing the likes of Kansas and Michigan, they're going to be really ready for the Midwestern Collegiate Conference. Here's the half, three-quarter trap. That's been a problem all day, the trapping defense from full court and three-quarter.
Trevor Powell, nice move, but he couldn't hit the reverse layup. Key a touch, Curry has it, and what a second half he's had.
Ron Curry, very good around the basket.
16 in the game, 13 of those since halftime.
He's very quick. He's got excellent quickness.
And Hill from about 17 feet. Nice little touch.
He answers some critics who say, can he shoot it? Did you say that, Mr. Carpenter? Can he shoot the ball? He's got a nice rotation.
Sometimes that roll tells you more than a swish does.
Well, it shows that he's got the good backspin.
There's Key. Nice feed from Anglevar on the left side.
Damon Key, good-looking freshman. Ron Curry, only a sophomore. They didn't get a good performance out of Keith Stewart early out of the gate, and he is a solid player coming out of the Big Ten where he started for Purdue University.
Well, Duke thought they could pressure Marquette's guards, and guard play's been the difference.
Leitner really can sit in that post.
Back to Hill on the give and go. Hurley for three, picking up the loose ball.
That's what they want out of Bobby Hurley. Give us some point production and reduce the turnover ratio. But remember this, Hurley is such an aggressive player that you don't want to take away his aggressive style. And in his style, he's going to turn the ball over. I know one thing, Hurley went to sleep after that championship game, and he had Mr. Anderson Hunt on his mind because Hunt was scintillating defensively and offensively for the running Rebels. Who, by the way, put it down. They will play in the NCAA tournament. If they don't win the appeal, take it, go to the bank. They will get a legal injunction, and those players will fight legally to get the right to play in the NCAA tournament.
That's bad news for a lot of coaches.
Well, I think it's ludicrous and absurd that those players are being penalized for what happened in 1977. And I think somehow along the way, the NCAA should really sit down and think about the offer, as Leitner scores, of Jerry Tarkanian and the people. Because if they don't, I really believe Perry Mason better get involved, because legally, it's going to be one heck of a hassle.
Over the top pass, Davis intercepts but stands on the baseline. No, he traveled with it. If anything, it looked like the only bad thing that could happen would be if he stepped on the line, they say traveling. And with 3:56 to go, Marquette has it, but down by 16.
Davis, good defensive player. They think he'll give him some offense also with his perimeter jump shot.
Stewart, quiet night for him. Leitner bumped it away from Key. Hurley has it. You got a loose ball around him, you might as well forget it. He's going to find a way to grab it.
Hurley's such a winner. He's such a tough competitor. People have a tendency to forget that kid was a freshman only last year. He's entering his sophomore year here, and he's played a lot of basketball. Offensive foul called by Jimmy Byrne.
Christian Laettner with his third. Not really a factor with only 3:27 to go.
This guy hasn't had a rest yet this year. Mike Krzyzewski's schedule's been unreal. Coaching the Goodwill games, the World University games. Then he's involved, World Championships rather. Then he's involved in a recruiting scene. But he has an excellent staffer. Peter Goodette does a great job along with Mike Gray and Tommy Amica.
Yeah, he was also courted by the NBA. There's Damon Key backing in, but he forgot to dribble first.
That Damon Key down in that box, Boston Celtics. You mentioned the NBA and the Olympics. I think it's really a crime that now they've put into a rule that states that only a professional coach can coach the Olympic team. After all the years of labor and work by the college coaches like Lute Olson and Denny Crum and John Thompsons and guys like, we take a look at Mike Krzyzewski. I don't believe that should exist. I'm not saying a pro coach shouldn't get it, but a college coach should have the opportunity as well. I really believe that.
Clay Buckley out of Wayne, PA, a senior, will check in for Duke. Christian Laettner takes a seat with 24 points and 12 rebounds.
Get out your filler material, baby. It's time to fill up. Damon Key right now, the big wide body, 35, playing Laettner, trying to body up on him. He said, I didn't play against anybody like this in high school. I didn't play. And then he gets an elbow in the face. Oh, yeah, right across the head. He gets a left arm. He's going to be a tough player, this kid. I'll tell you one thing. Damon Key really played well in high school.
A head injury is the last thing Kevin O'Neill wants to see. His top freshman, Jim McIlvaine, is out for another week or so because he suffered 4 concussions during practice already. They don't need one to Damon Key. 2:58 to go, and coming up this weekend on ESPN, as usual, Chris Berman and the guys with NFL Game Day at noon Eastern time. All the highlights of every game on NFL Prime Time at 7 o'clock. And then a dandy from the AFC Central. The Steelers are back. They take on the Bengals.
Hey, what has happened to the Bengals, baby? And you mentioned primetime. Berman with that big wide body blocking for Theismann and for Patrick. I'll tell you, he can lead some plays, Mr. Berman, with that body. I'll tell you, you talk about ugly. Is that guy ugly or what? You said it, not me.
All right, the long pause is over, and now back to basketball. This is Logderman against Bobby Hurley with 2:40 to go. Duke by 16.
Look at Hurley putting relentless pressure on the ball, causing another turnover. There he is clapping.
One more, and they've got 30 turnovers on the night.
He just loves to play basketball. He's been playing since the day he laid in the crib. His daddy put a ball in that crib with him.
Bobby Hurley in there with Clay Buckley, who goes 6'10", 245. And Buckley laid into Bobby a little bit in practice yesterday physically, and Bobby laid into him verbally. He said, hey, I'll take your head off if you do that to me again.
Ooh, Bobby getting mighty tough for a little rascal.
Well, you talked about how tough he is. There's a miss from outside by Kubek, and the Warriors unable to get anything on the board lately as the clock moves under 2 minutes to go. But it's Curry.
It's Curry time. RC delivering.
On with 19, 16 of those in the second half.
Duke likes to use that screen for Hurley, so Buckley give his body up for his teammate. Buckley running around trying to lay some screens.
Davis with a 2 because he had his front foot on the line. A minute and a half to go. Warriors down by 13. They need a rash of threes here, and there's one up and Curry again.
Mr. Curry answering the call for the three-pointer. Duke and Boston College, you'll see another Frosh phenom, Billy Curley, highly recruited. Decided to stay home in the Boston area, had an injury his high school senior year. The kid, if you talk to many of the college coaches, will tell you he's flat out, big time, ready to play in a big-time environment.
McCaffrey goes right at Anglevar and draws the foul. That'll be his 4th.
Fouls on number 25, Mark Anglevar. Into the Duke lineup, number 21, Antonio Lang.
Lang comes on the floor. Tony Lang played really well in the first half. In the minutes that he got, comes in for Davis. You mentioned where will the game be between Boston College and Duke. I'll ask you one question. Where do you think it'll be?
I think it'll be right here.
You better believe it. Cameron Indoor Stadium means a sellout crowd, and it means the potential and possibility to get the Duke Blue Devils into the Big Apple in New York City. And basically the committee, what they try to do is give the advantage to a team that's higher rated. They take that into consideration. And there's no doubt Duke is a higher rated basketball team right now over Marquette and certainly over Boston College. So you have to beat them under a home environment. I could be wrong. I've been wrong a lot of times, but I really believe we'll be here at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Billy McCaffrey with 17 now. 1:03 to go, and Jeff Zavada, a 6'9" sophomore out of Stevens Point, Wisconsin, with a little late game playing time for the Warriors.
The one player I think Duke's going to have a tough time replacing. I think they'll replace Bricky and they'll replace Henderson with point production and athletic ability out of Grant Hill and scoring production out of Billy McCaffrey. But really, can they replace Ala Abdelnaby when they get matched up with teams that have great size inside?
Tony Lang fouls Ron Curry. And the second half of our doubleheader, sending you out to Fayetteville just a little while. The Commodores of Vanderbilt. It's the SEC against the Southwest Conference, but not for long. This will be a conference game in a couple of years. Commodores and Arkansas.
What has happened to Arkansas in football? It's been a disaster. They lost to Rice.
They've lost to everybody over the last month and a half.
And last year, Arkansas was in the Cotton Bowl. I'll tell you one thing, they'll have a tough time surviving in the SEC in football unless they improve their fortunes, because the SEC in football, week in and week out, it's a war.
Ron Curry with 24 to lead Marquette in scoring. Leitner has 24 for Duke. 41 seconds to go, and Curry turned an ankle, or see, here's the sprained a knee at midcourt.
Late in the game now, they're going to go to the line. They're still going to trade off the 2, try to get 2, give up the 2, then get 3. And with the 10 rule concept, in terms of the 10 foul concept, a lot of people thought you wouldn't foul at the end of the game. I believe you'll still see the fouling take place.
Dick, one thing that will take a little time off the clock will be that one less timeout per coach per game.
Right, I think if you really want to shorten the game a little bit, maybe at the end of the game, I don't know about shortening the game, but it certainly will add to the game. I like the professional rule where you can't have the timeouts by the coaches. They're down 15, they get a score, quick timeout. In the NBA, you can't call the timeout after you score, but the clock in the NBA in the last 2 minutes stops, so it gives the coach a chance to set up defensively. But in that case, certainly it wouldn't shorten the game if that is the basic intent of the rule.
Bill McCaffrey with 19 now. Duke by 12. We're in the last 35 seconds right now, and Lockerman launches a 3 from long range. He has 11.
Lockerman as a freshman, Damon Key as a freshman. You look at Curry as a sophomore. We haven't seen McIlvain.
Tony Lang with a loose ball jam.
Little Tony Lang with a little dunkaroo. Tony Lang is going to get a lot of playing time before this year's over. Another walk-in violation.
That was Charles Breaks, a 6'7" freshman out of De La Salle in Chicago. They say watch for this young man. He might be a starter by midseason.
I like McIlvain today at practice. I watched a little bit of his agility. He's got to get stronger, but the 7-footer, to me, has good mobility, and I think he's going to be a solid player. They will not clear him to play for about another 2 weeks. He's had 4 concussions in practice.
Kubek down deep. Buckley gets 2.
The 2 seniors, little senioritis. Kubek says, I'm going to my co-captain buddy, Mr. Buckley.
87-74. Duke wins it to advance against Boston College in the second round of the Dodge NIT.
Well, it's been all defense here. The defensive traps of Duke really was the difference, and they march on into the second round against the Eagles.
Duke by 13.
Duke a winner over Marquette in the first round of the Dodge NIT, so they will advance to face Boston College. The Eagles at home on the Conte Forum facing Memphis State, and what a game this one turned out to be. The Tigers took a big lead at halftime, but it was Boston College that came out running. Isley to Corey Jackson. O'Brien likes it early, but Memphis State fights back. Elliott Perry with the steal, drives. Ernest Smith follows with the jam. Tigers by 12. and Larry Finch would have a 16-point lead at halftime. But Boston College fights back again. Abel sticks it. Boston College has the lead again, 64-63. Late in the game, Doug Abel ices it. Final is 82-78, a 16-point deficit at halftime, and the Eagles come back to win. Freshman Bill Curley, the big man in the middle, 16 points, 8 rebounds in his college debut. Boston College outscoring Memphis State by 20 points in the second half. Elsewhere, New Orleans facing Oklahoma. The Sooners ranked 15 in the nation, and they have a 20-point lead, 42-22 at halftime. In their 2 exhibition games, they had 280 points. Brent Price with 7 points in the game. He, of course, is the brother of Mark Price. Elsewhere, number 3, Arizona, in action against Austin Peay. It's 28-15. This game in the first half, Arizona's won 47 consecutive games at home, trying to get to 48. Stay with us. There's more to come. The second half of our doubleheader. You're on the Dodge NIT, the number 2 team in the nation, coming your way. Arkansas against Vanderbilt, and there's your final one.